Well, if you want to age differently, one of the things you have to do is think differently, and nobody knows more about that than our next guest. He is a neuroscientist, a psychologist, a record producer, and a musician, and he's also a New York Times best-selling author. His latest book is called Successful Aging, and he's in demand around the country for speaking engagements. We're very happy to be with Dan Levitin. Dan, it's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here.
Successful aging, at first, is a term that people go, well, sure, everybody wants to age successfully, but this is revolutionary, and this is different than any other generation that's had the chance to age before.
It's true. We have a graying population. You've heard the saying, children are our future. They're not. Old people are, and lots of them. So, this is the first year in history when there have been more people over the age of 65 than under the age of 5 in our country. And within 10 years, it'll be more people over 65 than under 18. And it means that we have an opportunity to change the societal conversation about what are we going to do with older adults? What role can they play in society?
And a lot of that responsibility will fall on our shoulders ourselves. We have to think about what we want to do. We have to stay healthy enough to be able to do it. And we have to be open to change, to reinvention. When people hear successful aging, perhaps they just think about living a long time, but you're talking about a lot more than that. What is aging successfully?
To me, aging successfully isn't necessarily living the longest life, but the happiest and healthiest life. So I was just at a conference where they are doing research at a cellular level and at a chemical level where they think they can push out the lifespan to 200 years within the next 25 years. And they didn't really look at anything like quality of life. And so, everybody has to make their own choice how they would evaluate the pluses and minuses. But I don't think I want to live to be 200 if I'm going to spend the last 100 years sitting in a chair, catatonic and drooling on myself, completely unaware. So I think of our lifespan, whatever it is that we get, whether it's 80 or 100 or 200 years, as comprising a health span and a disease span. What successful aging to me is, whatever that lifespan is, you minimize the disease span at the end, you maximize the length of time that you're in the health span.
Critically important too, and living as hard as you can, as well as you can, changes the mindset. People now think of aging as a disease instead of as an opportunity. About the only ism still thriving is ageism.
It's actually obese people are still scorned and do not have equal rights. And in Canada, where I worked, there's a growing movement on obese individuals, and I had one who worked in my laboratory, and the government paid for a special chair without arms because he wouldn't fit in an armchair. But we don't have that same view in Canada or here about older aged people. And I'm glad that you brought up the faulty narrative that aging is a disease. It's not. In fact, it's just another developmental stage, like being in the womb, or an infant, or a toddler, an adolescent, or a young adult, or middle-aged. Their brain changes, their growth of brain connections that are unique to older age. There's some challenges that we face, as we do in any life phase, that are unique to that phase.
So one thing we have to do is also learn to deal with loss. And instead of mourn what's lost, we have to celebrate what's left. And that's another major factor in successful aging.
Yes, in the book I talk about how the ideal, I guess, for happiness is to be in the moment, to be here now, the Zen thing, which has been supported by neuroscience and by a lot of different teachings. It's a very old idea. A lot of us have trouble being here now. And you can't do that exclusively unless you've got minders and helpers, because you've got to set aside money, not burn through it all, so you have some, and you've got to plan to see the doctor. So there's a certain amount of forward thinking, but spending too much time ruminating on woulda, coulda, shoulda is not healthy for the brain or the body. And having goals reasonable goals for your age and your ability, but goals that are maybe just outside your comfort zone, is really the secret to staying mentally and physically healthy.
Here's another way of saying that. It's one of the last themes I want to touch on here. We have televisions that have 500 channels. We have the internet that has the total sum of knowledge of humanity in it. We've become we've become spectators. We're used to sitting and watching. We watch other people's lives in stories and the binge watching we do on Netflix.
Yeah.
We watch other people do everything. Are we forgetting that we can be the author of our own life story? We're just kind of going with the flow.
Well, I think 20-year-olds certainly think that they are and can be. 30 and 40-year-olds, what we're forgetting is that after 60, 70, and 80, we can be the author of our own life story. We don't have to be passive or participants in our own lives, just waiting for things to happen. Although, when things happen, you have to be ready to pounce. But I have some new heroes from having done the research for this book. Julia Hurricane Hawkins.
103 years old.
Just took gold medals in the senior games as a runner. Actually broke a world record for running, and she didn't even begin competitive sports until she was 75, and didn't take up competitive running until she was 100. She was a cyclist and doing other things. Talk about rewriting your own story. And my own mother, she was a novelist all her adult life. She published 40 novels, but at age 70, the publishers basically told her, not in these exact words, but you're old now. We don't think your writing is relevant. You're not needed. She's 85 now, so she spent the last 15 years reinventing herself, first as having written and staged 2 musicals, as both the book writer and the lyric writer and the producer. And my father became a stage producer late in life. And then she became a painter. She's been painting for 5 years. Her works are being shown in galleries in Los Angeles. One of her paintings graces my new record album.
That's amazing. You've had so many experiences, and you've had a different seat to watch life happen from than most of us. What's the moral? What can we learn from what you've seen? What is life all about?
I think that what life is about is helping other people. In one way or another, each of us resonates with a different way of doing it. For me, it's been being an educator, devoting most of my life to teaching. Teaching the next generation of scientists and humanists at universities. And not exclusively there. I visit high schools all the time and work with kids. I get emails from kids who are in 6th and 7th grade, and I try to give them project advice. But other people work in soup kitchens, or they visit hospitals, or all manner of things. Solving climate change, solving or addressing problems with bigotry and racism. Anything you can do, I think, to help others. In fact, we've now shown neuroscientifically, psychologically, it makes you happier. Now, it's best if your motive for doing for others isn't to make yourself happy, but if that's what you got to do to trick yourself into doing it,
doesn't hurt.
It's a win-win.
It doesn't hurt. As you move into your 60s now and soon to be mid-60s and then late, and you look forward, what do you see? Are you optimistic about what's to come?
Well, I'm unhappy with the way my generation, our generation, if I may, the Woodstock generation, has bungled the planet, both in terms of global warming, still a terrible uneven distribution of wealth, and uneven distribution of things like clean water and toilets.
Yeah.
And the notion of peace we failed on, and I don't think that it's I don't think that we boomers are going to be the ones to solve this mess we made, and I feel sorry on behalf of our generation for the 20 and 30-year-olds who have inherited it. But I don't think they're going to solve it on their own either. I think we need to work together in a partnership. We've got the guilty conscience, the wisdom, we've learned from the errors of our ways. They've got the enthusiasm, they're digital natives, they've got skills that we lack. And so I think one stream of things is that I see a partnership where things will get better. I see a societal conversation where we see 80 as the new 60, maybe 100 as the new 80. We integrate older adults into our communities and our plans and allow them to make a contribution and to be seen as meaningful, relevant human beings.
That wisdom word really is an important thing that's missing from our society. For people that are
we have quite a shortage of wisdom and tolerance right now.
All right, before we let you go, are there 3 things, give us 3 things that we could do now to start our journey towards successful aging?
Sure. One of them is don't retire. That, for a number of reasons that I go into in the book and have in longer form interviews, is really the death of health, brain and bodily health for most people. Now, if you do have to retire, you should retire from something to something else. Again, it could be volunteerism. It doesn't really matter. But having a sense of purpose, having to be at a certain place at a certain time, having to interact with other people, what you and I are doing right now, having a conversation gets to the number 2 piece of advice, which is keep meeting new people. Having a conversation is the most complex cognitive operation for the brain that we know of. It's more complicated than brain surgery. I can tell you that because I teach brain surgeons as part of my teaching. That's not that complicated. It's basically a bunch of plumbing. And then the third piece is practice gratitude. If you're happy with what you have and not focused on what you lack, you'll be happy.
So successful aging doesn't come in a supplement bottle. You can't buy it at the store. You can't surround yourself with things. It comes down to being relevant, living your life to the fullest, being fulfilled and making a difference in the lives of others. Dan, it's been a pleasure to have a few minutes with you. Daniel J. Levitin, about as good as it gets these days when it comes to thinking about the things that really matter as we move forward in age. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.